Welcome back, 412-575-2600 on the Borders and Borders hotline. Josh Taylor, Andrew Fillipponi, Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, powered by FanDuel Sportsbook. Pony, I want to get to something real quick here. Got an update here. Reds and Indians. Wade Miley's got a no-hitter through 8 innings now. So we're talking about a potential 4th no-hitter already in this season, and it's only early May. I'll throw this at you real quick before we take some phone calls. There has been discussion about trying out the possibility of moving the mound back. Does this propensity to have maybe 4 no-hitters in the first month and half of the season, does that change your mind at all about maybe this being an idea of why this might or might not work?
No, I'm not really a huge fan of that. I know that baseball lowered the mound back in the 60s. I think the sport's cyclical. I think right now, early in the season, pitching seems to be way out ahead of hitting. I'm actually surprised that we've seen teams allow for pitchers to go the full 9 innings and complete these no-hitters. Guys are going up over 100 pitches like John Means the other day with the Orioles, and that kind of bucks the trends where teams are saying, what the heck, go for history, which I agree with. I think it speaks to guys really not changing their approach based on the count. I think that I haven't seen the numbers from Miley, but my guess would be there's probably some strikeouts in there that help his cause, even though he's not really a big strikeout pitcher. So, yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of the oddest Aprils I can ever, now May, one of the oddest starts to a season I can ever remember, because it seems like almost every night someone takes a no-hitter past 6 innings. Look at Tyler Anderson for the Pirates the other day in San Diego against the Padres. So who knows if this will keep up, but I would not overreact and do anything knee-jerk because of it.
I'm with you on this one. It feels kind of like a boomer-bust dynamic. We're seeing a lot of home runs and a lot of emphasis on launch angle and trying to put the ball in the air. Plus, there's a lot of power pitching. You see bullpens that are loaded. There's multiple guys that can hit, high 90s, maybe triple digits on a radar gun, and a higher emphasis of strikeouts. So it seems like there's just so much between 2 extremes, more or less, than maybe one emphasis over another. We got George in Lincoln Place on the line. George, you're on the Nightly Sports Call.
Hey, George.
You there, George?
TV's up.
George.
Yeah, hi, Josh. Hi, Andrew. First-time caller, long-time listener.
Appreciate you.
Okay.
I got a question about the tiebreakers for the playoffs. If the 3 teams, Pittsburgh, Washington, and Boston, all end up with 77 points, who gets the first?
That's a great question. Thank you for the call. I have the answer right here. I actually brought a printout of this with me. I'll try to keep this as quick as possible. The NHL says the fewer number of games played is the first way to go about it. But if they're all playing the same number of games, here's how it starts. The first one is the greater number of games won, excluding games in overtime or shootout. So it's regulation wins. That's the first tiebreaker. The second one would be games won in regulation and in overtime. That's the ROW if you're looking at the standings. Number 3 is the greater number of games won in any manner. So total wins is the third tiebreaker. The fourth one's a little bit more complicated. So I won't go into detail with that one, but basically it comes down to the greater number of points earned in games against each other among 2 or more tied clubs. So basically comes down to head-to-head is the fourth tiebreaker. And then there's 2 more after that. There's the greater differential and the goal differential, and then the last one is goals for. That's the 6 tiebreakers. I don't think they would go that far, but the one to look out for is the regulation and overtime wins column, because Boston could overtake both the Penguins and Washington in that category, Pony.
I think it's ridiculous that head-to-head isn't the first tiebreaker.
Good point.
Because that's the way it is conventionally. I know baseball just has tiebreaker games at the end of the regular season to determine, seeding or who makes the playoffs and who doesn't. I would think the fairest way to do it is, how did you do against the team that you tied with? The Penguins, I know, have a good record against Washington. So, in a head-to-head situation, I think that, to me, should break the tie. 2 teams were even, but how did you do against the other team? And so, the NHL, as they often do, they've got the hardest standings to read. It looks like every team has a winning record, but they don't, because they put the overtime losses and shootout losses in another category. So I don't really like that. I think the loser point is dumb. If I were Gary Bettman, that would be one of the things I would do away with. And so the standings right now and the situation we're in just reflect that, where you've got to print out a piece of paper, Josh, to figure out what happens in the event 2 or more teams tie.
I don't know what's more confusing, the fact that you broke it down in a few sentences or the fact that they need like 6 sentences to explain head-to-head.
Yeah, I know.
It's really,
Wild.
really confusing. If you get a chance to look
Yeah,
it up
weird.
on NHL.com, you can print it out for yourself and take a look at it. It's really, really convoluted. I'll agree with this much. The overtime losses really do eat into the whole spirit of all of it. Because if you're talking about head-to-head play, that kind of takes that out of the way. Instead of it just being a straight-up win or loss, it makes it a lot more convoluted. I'll sum it up that way because you broke it down so much better than me.